And let's see, for your talk, there we go. All right, so Gray, that's one of our moderators, by the way.
Mhm.
I've made you host, so if you can help out with Q&A towards the end, if I'm not here, that'd be great. But let's see, give people a few more seconds to join. All right, looks like people are here, so I'll go ahead and get us started.
Awesome.
So hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to this talk by Miss Kassandra Pierre.
Mhm.
Uh, Kassandra is a champion of advocacy. She has seen firsthand the positive impacts diverse spaces has on talented individuals, and she recognizes allyship as imperative to unlocking human and organizational potential. Kassandra is a certified Scrum Master and a certified Scrum Product Owner, currently employed as an AVP in Technology Talent Development with a global financial institution. She serves as a Disability in Next Gen Leaders Program mentor, an advisory board member, and presenter for the 2022 SANS Neurodiversity Summit, and is the founder and affiliate president of the Women in Cybersecurity Neurodiversity Affiliate. And with that, I'll hand it off to Miss Kassandra.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, and thank you for Two Blacks in Cybersecurity for having me here today. It really is a pleasure to be able to join you. Again, my name is Kassandra Pierre. I am the president of the Women in Cybersecurity Neurodiversity Affiliate. Again, I work for a global bank. A little bit about me in my spare time. I like to read, upskill. I have a very large Doberman and two small Cocker Spaniels. I like to play with them. And I really enjoy cooking and sharing the recipes that I have. So today, what I'm actually going to do is share a recipe with you all. And that recipe includes some insights on the current cybersecurity employment landscape. And hopefully, it will also provide you with some strategies to transition into the role and the career of your choice. All right, so let's get started. A little bit about me. A few years ago, more than a few, I attended my first tech conference and was introduced to several leading women in the cybersecurity field who were thriving in their careers. In hindsight, I do believe that this event was a catalyst for me to really seriously start pursuing cybersecurity and technology as a career pathway. Since then, I've been actively supporting and mentoring other women, other people interested in pursuing their career in cybersecurity and in technology as a whole. So I've always been a tech enthusiast. I was, the kid that my parents will call on to like fix the software and the hardware on the computer and troubleshoot all, the tech stuff at home. And for cybersecurity, my initial love was actually open source intelligence and social engineering. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. Through networking, I was able to connect with a professional in the threat intelligence industry. And he would later go on to be my mentor, my sponsor, and an industry advisor for me. So, as a Black woman, new to the field, new to technology, new to cybersecurity, having this level of support really was empowering and life-changing. He would give me homework, stuff to read, research to complete, a whole book list that I went out and I bought. Lists of people to connect with, on LinkedIn and people, internally at the company that we worked for. He showed me how to navigate Maltego and use that, and also Splunk. And I was able to meet with him regularly and was actively, consuming the information that he gave me and building my technical knowledge. And that mentorship that I had really prepared me to transition fully into a technical role. So before meeting him, in all honesty, I was extremely overwhelmed, right, by the amount of information in cybersecurity, the different pathways, the different fields, specializations. There was just way too much information. The industry, as we all know, is extremely homogenous. Representation or the lack thereof amongst industry leaders, people of color and women, post middle management is minimal, right? And that was very daunting for me. I didn't see many women. I didn't see people of color. I didn't see myself. And my mentor really encouraged me to branch out and to get active and get connected and to become that change that I wanted to see in the industry. As we all know as well, recruiters have always been overly focused on your pedigree, right? So individuals like me who were coming into the field or wanting to make a pivot, people from a non-traditional background. I've been in healthcare and nonprofit and education, now finance, right? With that non-traditional background, those coming from another career, people who are older, or have experience in another field, people who didn't begin their career in technology and entry level folks, we all, have a steeper hill to climb, right? There is a bigger barrier for us to climb over to make that pivot. And unfortunately, there are a lot of fixed mindsets in the field that have predetermined what the ideal candidate should look like, right? And for a lot of those people, you must have that technical acumen. You must come in with that information. And then a lot of us don't have it, right? Short story, I was involved in a networking panel with a bunch of my colleagues, and we all had the opportunity to talk with some cybersecurity leaders about what they did and, to determine whether or not we would be a good match for them as a mentee. And I was able to talk to a gentleman who was very established in his career. He was a director in cyber. And I shared a little bit about myself and, wanting to pivot into cyber. And after about 4 or 5 minutes, he basically told me that uh, pivoting was not going to happen, right? It was going to be too difficult for me. I did not have a technical background, and maybe I should look into something else, right? And this man didn't know me. He didn't know my background. He didn't know my skills, my capabilities, nothing about my work experience. And unfortunately, that kind of interaction is not uncommon, right? It's not isolated for people to just, discount you, discount your experiences because you don't fit that perfect ideal candidate descriptor. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people who experience stuff like that quit. They go off and they do something else. Um, the cybersecurity industry right now is in need of more pipeline programs that will support people who want to pivot into the industry. It is well known that, college graduates, they can get an internship in their junior or senior year, and after graduation, they can get a job, right? But if you don't have the job experience, the process is challenging. If you aren't a university graduate, if you don't have the high GPA, you're not going to get that internship. You're not going to make those network connections. If you don't have the certifications, right? There's a lot of discussion around what cert is the best one to get. What do I need as an entry level candidate, to add to my portfolio to make myself, better positioned to get that first role. If you don't have the certifications, it can be very difficult to secure the interview. It's not impossible. I do know people who have gone on to their first role without certs, but it is difficult, right? Certs are expensive, and those costs prohibit a lot of people from being able to verify their experience with a credential, and it's unfair. And despite, the shortage in cybersecurity with, finding people for roles, I'm still hearing that recruiters and hiring managers are still being overly selective in who they want for that role, right? For entry level role, they're picking people with CISSPs, which is, as we know, absolutely ridiculous. Candidates are being heavily screened, and the gatekeeping, I think, is still rampant. It's much easier to land a role through networking, through the people that you know, reaching out on LinkedIn, which is great. But in my opinion, I think it promotes affinity bias, right? People hiring people who are just like them. And that undermines our case for diversity. Great candidates are going to be overlooked just because their background does not match that of the hiring manager or of what they think is ideal. And, I'm hoping to work to fix that. What I'm here today is to tell you, I'm here today to tell you that you don't have to be, the ideal candidate in order to be a great hire. Just put that out of your head. But, right, if you fall into any of those categories, if you're an entry level person, if you're pivoting from another career, if you're an older worker transitioning from another, 20 years working in another industry, or if you're a student or a woman or a person of color, the reality is you're going to have to be aware of all of these things, right? Be aware of the hiring landscape, and you have to be prepared to be successful. You're not going to just be able to wing this and walk into your role. You're gonna have to prepare. It's gonna be difficult, but it is not impossible. So what does the industry look like right now? Let's take a look at some data. There are tons of openings still. ISACA is saying, as we all know, ISACA has a lot of these professional certifications for cyber that people are taking. They're reporting that it is getting harder to hire and to retain cybersecurity talent for many reasons. The Great Resignation or reshuffle or whatever we're calling it had a significant impact on the cybersecurity workforce. Through one of their surveys, they said that 63% of hiring managers in cybersecurity indicate that they have unfilled positions. 63%. 62% of those people report that their teams are understaffed, meaning teams are doing more work with less people. 20% said that it can take more than 6 months to find qualified candidates for open roles. 6 months to find someone. And then 63% say it takes longer than 3 months on average to fill a role. If anyone is interviewing right now or going through the hiring process, you know how long that can take. If people are sourcing for multiple roles, the impact of not having a colleague on your team because the role is unfilled takes a toll on those people who are working, right? So that leads into this top reasons why cybersecurity workers are leaving their jobs, right? They're leaving for other companies, right, with a better work-life balance. They're leaving for more money, right? More incentives or bonuses. They're leaving because they don't have pathways to promotion or to be developed, right, in their role and to grow. High stress levels. I know of several people who are either trying to manage their way out of a role or into a different role specifically because they're overworked. And then lastly, because of a lack of manager support, right? Burnout is on the rise. And in 2022, last year, Tech Monitor said that more than a third of cybersecurity professionals are considering quitting their jobs. Why? Because of long hours and heavy workloads, right? People are leaving. A survey of 500 workers in the US and the UK said that more than a third of employees would leave their jobs just due to the high stress level and how much the workload negatively impacts their life and their work life balance and mental health. And we all know the benefits that there are of being in cyber, but there is that flip side, right? The stress level, the workload, the constant pivoting and upskilling. These are all things that we have to take into consideration when we're thinking about moving into a new role. The type labor market is also a major factor behind the turnover. People have choices now, right? No longer is it required for you to have to go into an office and work there. We have hybrid work, we have fully remote work. And for these reasons, people are moving roles and finding a company that fit them better. Last year, the White House released a request for information because they're trying to find, new opportunities or emerging initiatives, right, for creating new talent development programs and work pipelines. They want people who are in the field to provide some insight on solving this worker shortage, right, uh, that we're experiencing right now. And my group, Women in Cybersecurity, specifically the Neurodiversity Affiliate, we're really working on creating talent pipelines and opportunities for people who are autistic, those with ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, and other conditions. It is well known there's a direct connection between high performance and neurodiversity in cybersecurity. So we're trying to create some pipelines for people to get into the field. But then there are also many other people who are interested in entering the field, and there are many experienced people leaving. This is why I think we see a considerable focus on diversity and inclusion because women, people of color, neurodivergent candidates, and older workers make great candidates as well. And I think the White House is looking at these things and is hopefully will be creating some programming and entry pathways for people like that to get jobs. Leaders are being more open-minded, right? They're starting to think outside the box. They're willing to train. Every day on LinkedIn, I see a new program for free certs or free training. And they're entertaining diverse candidates because the talent shortage is a direct threat to our national security. If we don't have people securing our businesses and education and our hospitals and government, it puts us behind. And every day there's a new cyber threat attack, a new breach. We need people in the field, right? Despite all of this, however, there still is some reluctance to hire non-traditional talent, entry-level talent, and self-taught talent. Of the people who are really trying to get into cyber, hiring managers are seeing that there are some skill gaps, mostly in soft skills, cloud computing, and security controls. And a report that came out last year as well said that the most important soft skills that are needed currently are communication skills, critical thinking, and problem solving. And of the open roles that are out there right now, only 52% of those jobs require a college degree, a 6% decrease from 2021. And I'm expecting that that number is going to drop even further as this worker shortage or this lack of skilled staff continues. Um, One of the major changes that is driving this too, right? The lowering of the entry barriers into cyber is the proliferation of data generating technologies, right? So cell phones and smart devices and IoT devices, which we all have access to. Um, every company now, not just tech companies, are required to manage and secure immense volumes of data in transmission. So that means all companies, right, must now focus on building and strengthening their security posture, their infrastructure, and their workforce. Information is a new currency, and companies, as we know, are facing threats daily. And the people who are in the field right now are exhausted. And this is why we need more people in the field. My goal today in sharing all of this with you is to provide you with a real deal that I'm seeing, right? Not only in my full-time job, but in the work that I do with WESIS and to give you somewhat of an insider view of the industry. I also want to give you some actionable information, right? And insights into some of the things that you can do to make you a better student, a better employee, a better hire. And all of these things will help to improve your professional outcomes when you go on to apply for a job. So let's talk about specific things that we all can do, right, to threat model your cyber career. So what does all of that mean? We all know what threat modeling is. It's a method of optimizing network security to find vulnerabilities, identify objectives, and then to develop countermeasures to prevent or mitigate the effects of a cyber attack. That's essentially what we want to do with our career. The process of threat modeling enables cybersecurity professionals to identify and to mitigate threats before they become an issue. Same thing with your career. You want to create a plan, right? A process to evaluate where you are today in your career or in your studies, chart where you want to go, and then from that, you're going to create a strategy to achieve your professional goals. So I'm going to walk you through a process to take a really close analytical look at where you are now. And then we're going to explore a couple themes that will add some context to your current journey. And I'm hoping that all of this will give you some insight into what is waiting for you at the end of your school program or your certification or even a new course or just at the end of your interview process. So to be successful in threat intelligence, right, you have to demonstrate proficiency in a couple areas. One, agility, critical thinking, curiosity, and of course, if you're in cybersecurity, definitely a love of learning. You constantly have to be learning new things and then evidencing your ability to apply the knowledge that you have. So being a successful technologist is not just dependent on your technical acumen or what you know. You also have to develop some professional skills, right? The job market today really welcomes people who have a healthy balance of both things, the technical skills and the business acumen. So what does that mean? It means that you have to actively master the technical concepts. So you want to be a penetration tester, definitely focus on, learning the new skills, right? But you also have to develop yourself personally and professionally. That's going to show that you know what it means, and how you're to foster your specific skill sets, right, and yourself, and how all of that correlates to supporting the business that you're trying to apply to or get into and their bottom line. It's going to show that you know how to create value, you know how to build relationships, you know how to effectively communicate, and it's going to make you, it's going to help you to create a positive impact in that organization. It's going to make you a great employee. It's going to show that you are a team player and that you also have the capacity and capability to be a great leader in your field. So how do you get there? What is it that you need to do, right, today to become the best version of yourself to create the career that you want? What do you need to do to be the best cybersecurity professional that you can be? So, as I said before, threat modeling is a method of optimizing network security to mitigate the effects of an attack on a system. How can you take that and then apply it to your career? What I'm going to do is just walk through 10 things, right, that we can all do, myself included, to prepare ourselves for our career. It could be tech, it could be cyber, it could be whatever. But before that, let's talk a little bit more about threats, right? Let me go to my next slide. First, to really think about what threats are, right, we have to realize and recognize that we're working, with a compromised system. We all have vulnerabilities, right, in and around in our lives and around us, especially today. Many of us are coming into this industry later in our career. Some of us may not have a degree. Others may not have an extensive technical background or even professional experience. This may be your first or your second real job. Some of us have family responsibilities, right? Some of us are caring for kids or, helping out with our families or with our elderly parents. We have a lot of things on our plate and we don't have the time or the energy to be that flexible. We have a lot to lose, right? And not enough room to be agile. So in order for us to be able to effectively respond to any threats to, right, our environment, we must first know what those things are and where they can appear. Next, we have to develop an action plan before those things come up and impact our lives, right? It's important to know what those things are that can threaten your career and your opportunity to pivot and grow and move into the role of your choice. And if those things occur, right, how will it impact you? How is it going to prevent you from reaching the goals that you have? All of these things are things that you should they really think about before they happen, and if they materialize, um, you will know how to respond. For me, a big problem that I have always had, right, is managing my time. And sometimes I take on too much and, I have a full plate. And as a result, things fall off and, I'm dropping the ball on things personally and professionally. So what do I do to combat that, right? I have calendar that I use on my phone. And, for work, I have a whiteboard on my wall over here where I jot things down. And when I'm done, I scratch it out. I have lists on sticky pads everywhere here, right? I do these things to prepare myself ahead of time so that I don't miss out on the important things in my life. If it's with school, I'm handing in assignments ahead of time. What are the threats in your life, right? Really take a moment to think about that. What are the things that impact your life, things that you can plan for and not plan for, that threaten your opportunities or your ability to develop where you are? Is it your health? I'm really hoarse right now. I'm coming off of COVID for the first time. And, during those 3 weeks that I was sick, I pretty much didn't have the opportunity, the energy, the wherewithal to do much, right? Is your plate filled with responsibilities? What can you pass on to someone else? What can you get rid of? What can you rearrange so that you have more bandwidth, right? What are the things that are in your life currently that could potentially come between you and your goals? These are the things to think about, and they must be top of mind so that you can prepare and plan. One of the best ways, I think, to ensure progress, right, is to be accountable to someone or something. So just like paying for the gym membership, right, or getting a personal trainer, that helps you be accountable to a workout, to take care of your health, and to do what you need to do when you need to do it. It's the same thing with your career. What or who keeps you accountable? Is there someone specific? Is your partner? Is it your parent? Is it your child? Who are those people in your life, right, that help you to be the best you? Those are the people that you want around you and behind you to help you get to where you need to be. So, tip number one, um, find a mentor. I talked about this a little bit before, right? But find a mentor or your cheering squad or your tribe or your girls or whoever, like whoever these people are, bring them into what you are doing with your life. It could be your partner, family members, it could be your children, friends, your therapist, pretty much anybody that can support you as you begin to make these deliberate steps to prepare yourself for your next professional goal. Those are the people that you want around you, right? Now is the time to really self advocate and to ask for what you need. You're creating your plan, right? Determine what you need to be accountable. What does accountability look like for you? Tell your circle, be honest with them. If it means I need you to call me every Wednesday night so that I'm studying for my Security Plus for an hour, tell them to set their alarm and expect a phone call when it comes 7 o'clock on Wednesday night, right? Let people know what you need so that you can show up and do what you need to do if you want to be if you want to be effectively supported, right? Your plan should include everyone and anything that will help you to stay focused, to stay productive, to stay healthy and positive as you prepare for this next step in your life. Tip number two, do your research. Okay. How do you know what career is right for you? How do you know that you want to be a penetration tester? How will you find out, right? In response to all of the things that are happening right now in technology, increasing cybercrime, data breaches, insider threats, and all of that, companies are spending trillions of dollars on cybersecurity products and services. Organizations are getting ahead of the problems by having an effective, dynamic threat modeling plan in place, as you should for yourself and for your career. So what do you do now, right? What is your job now? Are you a student? Are you an analyst? What do you do now? Do you like it? Is there a similar role in cybersecurity that you would prefer to do or that you would like to do? What's a typical day in that role? Right? What skills do you need to be successful in that role? What types of experiences will be valuable? What are your transferable skills? If you don't have the answers to those questions, you need to start to actively seek that information. You won't know that you're going to be a good fit for a specific role unless you start to do your digging and doing your research and trying it on before you get into that role, right? LinkedIn is a great place to start to connect with people in the field and to look at open roles and job descriptions. One thing that I do or did sometimes was, if I had in my mind a role that I thought would be a good fit for me, I would go onto LinkedIn, search the open roles that were there, and just pull down some of the job descriptions and look at what they were asking for. What were the requirements? What are the skills that I would need to be successful in that role? How many of them do I currently have? How many do I need? And then the need role, the need skill sets, I pull those down and then start planning opportunities to upskill in those things. Um, it seems you can also on LinkedIn reach out to people who are currently in that role, right? So you're not a pen tester, but you want to be one. Get on LinkedIn and find somebody that's doing that currently. Get online on the big Discord and find someone that's currently doing that. Ask to connect with them. Ask for 10 or 15 minutes on their calendar so you can ask them some questions about what they do, right? It may seem frightening at first to just reach out to random strangers. I get it. I'm an introvert and it terrified me at first to reach out to my mentor. But I did it. I was being supported by someone else, an old supervisor, and he encouraged me to reach out. And I got the name of my mentor through another connection, and I sent him my email and was like, "Hey, can I chat for 10 minutes? I have some questions." And I was scared, right, that he would reject me. And what I can tell you is that in the last 2 years of actively reaching out, overextending myself, connecting to people on LinkedIn, sending messages and emails, I have never been rejected. No one has ever said to me, no, Kassandra, I don't have time to talk to you. I don't want to talk about my job or what I do. Sorry. Nobody has ever told me that. And even if they didn't have the 30 minutes, some had 5 minutes, right, to have a discussion. Some people couldn't talk, but they would respond to me via email. Always reach out and ask. Try to find out some information about what you want to do. And, when I was working up the courage to really speak to my mentor, I knew I had to take that risk because this meant this was going to impact the rest of my career, right? He gave me that in, he gave me time on his calendar. So I then, did some research. I Googled him and Googled internally because we worked together at the time, looked up what he was, projects he was working on and his team, got information from LinkedIn, asked other people about him, put together about 10 questions, right, to ask him when we finally met. And then, I asked him about his career path and what he does in his role, asked for advice and for some guidance. And I spent a couple of days really prepping for the conversation. Um, and then when we met, it went amazing. And at the end of that call, he asked if I wanted to meet with him again about 2 weeks later. Of course. So we set up another call and met again. And then after that call, he was like, "Well, do you want to set up like a recurring meeting just so we could connect?" And my mind was blown at that point. And this, I mean, again, this person is the director of a global team. He doesn't really have time to, listen to the questions that I have, but he made time for me. And I want to say that was almost 2.5 years ago, and we still connect. I have a call with him this upcoming Monday. So all of that to say, you never know what the outcome of reaching out is going to be. This person has been a huge factor in my success. At first, we started talking about Splunk and OSINT and all of that. And now, when I have a question, just professionally speaking, doesn't even really have to be anything cyber related. This is someone that I can reach out to and talk to and be vulnerable with and open with. And I get that feedback from him that has just been, it's just been priceless. So you reach out, you get the person to talk to, they're making time. What do you do? If they tell you to go out and get some books and read them, go buy the books, right? If you have to do some research, if they are giving you upskilling projects to do or tasks, a virtual machine, do the things, right? Don't waste people's time. If they're making time for you, you make the time to do what they're asking you to do, right? It's going to take some work, it's going to take some discipline, but ultimately, it's definitely going to pay off. Tip number three. So what are your assets, right? We all know we have to secure those things. These are the things that are going to help us to transcend the level that we're on to get to the next one. For me, one of my assets is my ability to study and to buckle down and to learn the content, right? Figure out your learning style and definitely commit to developing effective study habits. The people that I know that have been able to push their career from entry level or just above that to manager level roles are the people who are constantly upskilling and studying. In the last 3 years or so, I've really learned a lot about myself. When I was a kid, I was a strong student, went to college, was a fairly strong student. But then when I started actively preparing for a technology career, specifically in cybersecurity, my confidence pretty much took a hit. I really had to learn how to study again. I had to relearn how to learn. It was difficult to understand and to take in the fact that, what I used to do as a kid and a teenager and early in my career, those types of study skills was not going to work in cyber. So I had to research and learn new ways to take notes and figure out different ways to comprehend, the subject matter that I was taking in. I've realized that I have multiple learning styles, right? So I prefer to learn in different ways. I like having physical textbooks so I can highlight those. I like audiobooks, right? And podcasts and YouTube videos to supplement what I'm learning. So if there's a specific manual that I'm reading and there's a concept that I need more information on, I'll jump on YouTube and see what's on there. Or, there are a million podcasts right now out there. Sometimes uh, people are more effective in breaking down a concept um, in a different way. So having a multifaceted approach to how I'm learning, right? Audio, I have the book, I'm watching the videos. It helps to reinforce the information that I'm taking in. And then I have to practice, right? So how do I take that content and then turnkey it or kick it out in a way that I can apply the information that I'm learning? Once I figured all of this out, it really, really improved my ability to grasp concepts and to take in the information. And all of that is called kinesthetic learning, right? So on the job training, doing the simulations in a virtual machine or try hack me or whatever. All of these things are a form of kinesthetic learning or physical learning. And all of those things, those experiences have helped me to be better at what I do. By figuring out my learning style, I have been able to be extremely strategic in the way that I study, where I study, how I build or scaffold my information, right? So from a basic level of understanding to adding more difficult concepts on top of that, that has been successful. I know I need quiet, right? I can't study, in a group of people. It just doesn't work for me. I need a few distractions. Most times I lock my dogs out if I'm doing my homework. I need to be by myself. And all of these things have given me the ability to really um, to grow a lot and to take in content, right? So what do you need, right? Do you need the solitude or do you prefer a study group? Do you need a tutor, right? One-on-one tutor? Do you need to actively work with a mentor so that they can explain some of these concepts for you? All of these things are things that you should think about, right? Some of us have to go to the library. Some of us have to go to Panera. Do what you have to do to set yourself up for success and not for failure. Okay. Tip number four, focus on your personal growth, right? This part is extremely important. Um, so in the last, I don't know if y'all remember, back in October, down here, I live in Tampa, we were all preparing for Hurricane Ian. And on top of that, I was completing some assignments for a course that I was taking, managing profit projects for WESIS, my job, right? Some appointments with my mentees. I have a couple mentees, and then, really managing my personal life on top of that. And in all honesty with you, In all honesty, it was too much. I was overwhelmed. I had too much on my plate, and I really had to sit down with myself and be honest about what I was able to do and not do. I realized that if I did not prioritize my health, both physical and mental, that I would not be able to attain any of the goals that I had set out for myself at the beginning of the year, right? I can't give 100% at work, 100% to school, 100% to volunteering, right? And then come home and have pizza and not go to the gym or not work out or not get enough sleep, right? Because what I'm doing is trying to do all of this stuff on a foundation that's just pure crap, right? The personal habits that you have in your life, right? The things that you do every day to take care of yourself will carry over to your professional life. And this really came home to me last year. If you haven't yet read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear, add that to your list. Go out and get it. In his book, he says you have the power to change your beliefs about yourself. Your identity is not set in stone. You have a choice at every moment. You can choose the identity that you want to reinforce today with the habits that you choose today. Habits help us to become the type of people that we want to be. They are the channel that you develop your deepest beliefs about yourself. You become your habits. That's huge, right? As a result, I have been trying to make some incremental improvements, right? Drinking more water, walking around, standing up like I'm doing now instead of sitting all day because that's bad for you, trying to go to bed on time, limiting the alcohol, right? Picking up a book and reading and learning something instead of binge watching TV. All of these things require sacrifice, right? It's not fun to work on a virtual lab or machine when, on a Friday night when everybody is out partying. But at the end of the day, what do you want for yourself, right? Is that extra hour of study going to push you closer to your goal? If it's a yes, then maybe you should do it, right? We all have, the goals that we want to achieve. So we have to be focused. It's the same thing for, all of us, right? We have to create the small habits and the behavior changes in our lives that will carry us through to the end of the certification, to the end of the class, to the next job. If that's what you want to do, if you know where you want to go, think about the things that you have to change or add, and then start today. Tip number 5, define what success and failure looks like for you. This is an important one. I think for those of us who are on Instagram and social media and all of that, we see a lot of stuff on there that could at times make us feel bad about where we are in our lives, right? But I am here to tell you, if you don't know already, social media is extremely deceiving, right? I'm extremely guilty of getting on Instagram and just scrolling for for hours. Unfortunately, I like to look at the Doberman videos, but there are other things on there, right? We look at our friends and we see what they're doing, what vacation they went on, or, the weight that they lost or what they're cooking or whatever. And sometimes, it could cause you to feel slightly inferior about where you are, right? What you're doing day to day, because it doesn't match what those people over there are doing, right? Um, it's important to really take that in and then put it to the side. LinkedIn is another place where you can get all in your feelings about your accomplishments and about other people's accomplishments, right? Every day there are multiple people talking about their new job and their promotion and the certifications. And even the most secure person could be a little bit insecure about all of that. And you know what? That's fine, right? What people are doing is their business. What you need to do, what we need to do is define what success looks like for us. So for some people, it could be more money, right? They're working on a promotion and they want to get that more money and they get it and that's awesome. For some people, it's working from home. They want to be able to spend time with their kids, to cook meals, to walk around the block during the day. For them, that's great. For some people, they want more vacation. You have to decide and determine what your success is Because when you try to compare what your end goal is in life to someone else's, all you do is set yourself up for, torture, right? You are going to be actively putting yourself in a position of comparison. But, we're not in a race with anybody else. The only person that you have to be better than at the end of the day, or next week, or next month, or the end of the year is yourself. Not me, not anyone in your class or on your job. The only person you have to be better than is yourself. So if you don't make the steps towards your goals the way you want to in the next couple of months, just realign your strategy and your short-term goals. I don't know how many of us at the beginning of this year set out to take down, a list of our New Year's resolutions, right? How many have you accomplished to today? Are there, resolutions that you need to go back and, redraft and maybe start over again? If you have to do that, that's fine, right? Just start over. Every new day gives us the opportunity to be better than we were yesterday. Don't get down on yourself, because things aren't moving fast. You're not progressing towards your degree as fast as you want them to. Just start and keep moving, right? If you haven't completed your entire list by the end of the year, that doesn't make you a failure, right? It makes you someone who's working towards your goals. So just keep moving, be patient with yourself, prepare, right? And, rely on the support circle that you have. Now that leads me to tip number 6. Learn, to accept no for an answer, but be prepared for your yes. So what does that mean, right? In cybersecurity, I think we all know the competition is steep. There are people out there who, are doing all of the things and are landing the jobs and the roles, and they have the master's degrees and all of those things, right? There are a lot of open roles right now, but we can't allow that reality to make us complacent. For every role, as you see on LinkedIn and Indeed and some of these other job platforms, they're receiving hundreds, plural, of applications for each role, right? Those entry level roles, the people applying have master's degrees and CISSPs and all sorts of certifications. We all know cyber is a hot field and everybody wants to get in, right? You're gonna apply for a lot of roles. And some of them you may get ghosted. You may never hear another thing from that company after you hit the submit button. For other roles, you may get the screening call, right? The recruiter may follow up. For others, you may get to, the first interview or two, and then for some, you may get all the way to the end of the interview process and you think everything is great and then you get rejected, right? That's fine. That's okay. Being rejected for a role should teach you two things, right? One, that role was not the right one for you at that particular moment. And two, which is the more important message, is to keep preparing and developing yourself. After your interviews, if the offer is not extended, ask the hiring manager or the recruiter for some feedback, right? What do they think you should be working on? What skills do you need to improve? Is it your actual interview, right? Do you need to, redraft that resume and really create it so it highlights the strengths that you have and your experience, right? What topics should you expand on or upskill on so that you could speak with them with confidence and with authority? The recruiter, for the most part, will have no problem giving you the feedback, but you have to ask. Definitely ask. Keep people's names, right? Keep the names of the people that you interview with. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Follow them. Post on LinkedIn about the things that you're doing and keep developing yourself. Earlier, I said that networking is the best way to land a role. These folks are going to keep an eye on you and your progress. So the next time you apply after that, that might be the time that you actually get a yes. Okay. Sometimes you don't even have to apply for the role. Okay. Recruiters will reach out to you in your DMs on LinkedIn. They'll send you an email asking if you're interested in applying for specific roles. I know of someone that just last week got a job offer without even applying. She just had some conversations with someone in a networking capacity, and then they reached back out and offered her a job, which is crazy. But I know too many stories like that for you to not take that as some valuable insights. What I'm saying is opportunities can come to you. But what would happen if after that first rejection you got, or after the first no, that you stopped reading, right? You stopped studying for the cert, you stop practicing in your virtual lab, you don't do try hack me anymore, you won't be ready. You won't be ready for the day that someone reaches out and says, hey, this seems like a good fit for you. Are you interested? Can you chat about it today? Suppose you stopped, right? So the point is always be ready, always. Every networking conversation that you have could be an interview, like for real, right? You never know. Speak to the skills that you have, speak to your strengths, ask the insightful questions, show that you're eager, you're interested, you're ready to go. And all of these things will help you get to the role that you want. Tip number 7, definitely work hard, right? What does that mean? Everybody says to work hard. It means exactly what it means, right? Cybersecurity, technology in general, is not a field where you can give 50% and show up, uninterested and not ready to go. You have to be ready every day to work, because the responsibility that you will hold in your hands when you get the role that you want is going to be immense, right? There are plenty of upsides in working in cyber, as we all know, the stability, the salary, opportunity to grow and develop. But with these jobs comes a lot of extra hours, constant learning, and stress. And it's going to pull a lot out of you. So you have to prepare, right? For my circle and the people that I know that are doing amazing and then they're successful, they're always learning something. They're always taking a class. They always just finish taking, a certificate. They're learning a new technology and they're keeping current with developments in the industry. So even before you get into that job that you want to be in, start practicing those habits now, right? So that it becomes normed. And when you transition into where you need to go, the learning curve and the behavior curve is not going to be so steep and you won't feel like a fish out of water. You're going to be able to transition easily into what's next for you. Um, Tip number 8, right? Plan. Like I mentioned before, plan harder. As a saying says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is true with personal in our personal lives and in our careers, right? Without a plan, you're unprepared, you're directionless, and you're not focused, right? You have to have an idea of what you want and how you're going to get there so that you can make the strides that you need to be successful, right? Having an idea of what you want and how you're going to get there is very important. Um, Before I created a career plan for myself, and this is something I go back to every couple months and really take a look at it and redraft it, right? I was all over the place, right? I didn't know where I wanted to go. If something new came up, I was all over that. And I couldn't really find a way to stick to what it is I wanted to do to really make some movement. And I kind of felt overwhelmed. There's just too much on my plate, too many things to look at. And my mentor at the time gave me a really good strategy. He created a mocked up this template for me on a Google Doc. And on one tab, I would write down what I wanted to accomplish in every 3 months. So rather than writing goals for the year, I broke it down into 3 months because I needed that to focus. So for you, if it's a cert, right, you look today, maybe March 1st, you want to start studying for a certification, make some goals for those 3 months, March, April, May. It could be joining a study group. It could be finding the materials. It could be adding an hour, 2 hours of study on your calendar every month. Plot it out in three, right? If there's a book that you want to read or two, add it to the list. If you want to work on your resume, add it to the list. Once you have those goals for the 3 months, review them at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week during those 3 months, right? At the end of the week, pull up the spreadsheet and see where you are in relation to where you started at the beginning of the week, right? And cross out or highlight anything that you've completed. Now, remember I mentioned your accountability partner, right? Share this sheet with them, okay? So they could see what you're working on. Don't take on too much, maybe 3 to 5 things max per each 3 months so you don't get overwhelmed, and just work through each thing as it comes up every week. Focus on one or two things. When you're finished with it, cross it out. I still have my sheet from about 3 years ago. And when I'm feeling, a little bit weird about where I am or, questioning what I've accomplished, I go back and I look at that sheet and I see all of the things that I've done, right? When I completed something, I would put a date next to it, right? And then I put highlighted all of that in yellow. And to go back now and to see all of the yellow blocks on my sheet and the dates on it, it really gives you some confidence to know that you have the capacity and the capability to really push past and to succeed when you set yourself up for something, right? At a glance, you could take a look at that sheet and determine the forward motion that you're making. And this encourages you to keep moving, right? If you don't write down your plan and what goals you have and by what date you want to accomplish them, how are you going to know if you make any progress? How will you know if you've accomplished anything, right? And you're going to forget and lose sight of the progress that you've made. So if you don't have a action plan or a career plan for yourself right now, you don't need anything fancy. Just start with an Excel spreadsheet or Google sheet and create it, make it into blocks of every 3 months, and just start writing down your goals. So tip number 9, strategies for your success, right? Upskill, upskill, upskill. I've mentioned this a couple times before, but I want to talk about it again. You definitely have to continue to work on learning new technologies and keeping your skills fresh, right? Focus on the segment or the industry or sector of cyber that interests you: red teaming, blue teaming, compliance, audit, GRC, operations, research, product, whatever it is, and definitely keep learning. Follow people on YouTube, industry leaders, follow them on Twitter. There are tons of free conferences. Sign up for them. There are tons of conferences. Sign up for them. Follow podcasts, right? A lot of podcasts drop a new episode every week. Listen to those. Start a blog. Write about your interests. Join a study group. If you don't have professional experience, volunteer, right? There are plenty of small businesses that could use your help. It may not be directly or initially aligned to cybersecurity, but it's going to help you find activities and projects that you could use to build your competencies and build your knowledge. And those projects that you do and those experiences can go on your resume, right? Sign up for newsletters so you get updates on trends and breaches and cybersecurity news and the threat actors. This will help you to be accustomed to and comfortable with the vernacular. Go to the bookstore or search Amazon for low-cost books. Vic has a ton of free resources. Do a search in the Discord. You can find things there. Ask the people who are also on the Discord or friends who are also in cyber, so y'all could do a book swap, right? Focus on the fundamentals, keep those on hand so you can reference them when you need them. Definitely practice. And the more you immerse yourself in the knowledge and the content and the industry, it doesn't even really feel like learning anymore. You're just taking in, that information. So when that call comes, right, for the interview that I hypothetically spoke about before, and you're meeting with that hiring manager, aside from just discussing the things that you've done, right, your work experience, you can also talk about what you're practicing off the clock, right? What is it that you were doing on that Friday night with a virtual machine? What recent exploit, is interesting to you? You could talk about how you spun up a home lab. You could talk about how you taught yourself the basics of Linux. Explain why you like pen testing, or how your current experience or your volunteer experience will, translate into the career that you want to go to. Most importantly, in those conversations, you're going to be illustrating without directly speaking to it, right? How you've been committing to a learning plan, how you've been growing yourself, how you've been doing the work, right? Pretty much every hiring manager I've spoken to in the field and in my job said that they would prefer, right, to take a green person, entry level person that is showing that commitment to learning on their team. They're doing all of the things over someone who's been in the industry and really hasn't done anything new, right? They don't have any new skills, new certs or anything. So don't feel that you're at a disadvantage because you don't yet have the industry experience. actively learning and growing is going to work for your benefit. Skills can always be taught, but the attitude that you have is very difficult to change. If you show up as somebody who's ready to learn, who's ready to be developed, people definitely will give you a chance. And on to tip number 10. Here we go. Pay forward, right? This one is really important to me. I had opportunities where when I was coming up where I pretty much had to learn, but through failure. I didn't really have anyone to mentor me or sponsor me, and I had to hold the hard road on my own. I mentioned earlier in my talk that I currently mentor several people. They are all early in their career. I have a couple other people who are established in their careers and they even have more education than me. But what we all have in common is that they want to pivot to a role in cyber and they need some support. So I'm not a genius, right? I don't have a million acronyms after my name and I don't know everything. But what I do know is that when people come together, right, and they're willing to work together and they create a plan for support, everybody's going to benefit, right? My mentees are getting the real time feedback from me. I help them with like interview prep, I redo resumes. We just chat and I provide them with advice and support and industry insights. What do they do for me? I get accountability from them, right? And I can reinforce my knowledge through our conversations. And they're also supportive to me as well, right? So I need to be able to accurately explain a concept to them, right? If they have a question. So that means I need to be on top of my skills. So I'm reading, right? I have to show up and be present for them. Additionally, something that's, one of those soft skills that I mentioned is those leadership skills, right? I'm taking the initiative to connect with them and to help them grow in their career and develop. And I'm practicing and evidencing the skills that are going to help me get to, my next role. I get to give back. And for me, I think that's probably out of everything that I do, being a mentor is most important. Um, Having stable, interested, and kind people in my life up to this point is what has made the difference. For me, being in an admin role, I started out as an administrative assistant, right? Supporting a CEO to, getting a job at a big four and to being promoted and then landing my current job and also in creating other opportunities for me, right? It has helped me transition from someone who never spoke up, right? I was that quiet person on the team. For the people that know me, they talk about that all the time. I never really said anything, to someone who is willing to do presentations like this, right? And to speak to you all and feeling comfortable doing so. So the things that I never thought I would be able to do, I'm doing them now because of the support I have received. So I encourage you to do the same. You don't have to mentor an adult. You could help with the youth. You could lead a study group if you have kids, do a study group with them and their friends. You can volunteer to help others in your community. You could give back and share the skills that you have. Guaranteed being able to give back to others. It gives us perspective on where we are in our lives, right? And it keeps us grounded. Um, Before I end, I have one quick story. It gives you a little bit of insight about why I'm here. Um, this was almost 5 years ago. My dad, I think, who is one of the friendliest people I know, his bank account got hacked. And I think that was what drove me to explore my interest in cybersecurity. So he's an older person, obviously. He's not that tech savvy. He loves to talk to everybody. And I feel gives way too much information out about himself. So what does that mean? He was a perfect cybercrime bait, right? So through like phone calls and emails, I think it was his email account initially that got hacked. A hacker was able to get all of my dad's info and then followed up on the phone and was able to get some of his bank account information. And the lie essentially that he used was to talk about was that he was from the student loan company for my brother's student loan. So anyway, he got access to my dad's information, his checking account, and then the man actually started like routing payments to himself for his like cyber syndicate, crime syndicate. So one day I was talking to my dad and he mentioned that he was like being shaken down by some guy from the student loan company for money and stuff. And I'm like, that didn't sound right to me at all. So I was just asking him information about the situation, about the guy and stuff like that. So my dad gave me his password to his email and I got in there, pulled up all the email threads and I was reading through it. And obviously, I realized that something was very wrong and that my dad had been hacked. This person had gained access to my dad's email and had accessed his other accounts because my father was reusing passwords and didn't have a password manager and all of this nonsense. It was horrible. So in that instance, I became my father, right? I played along with this guy and ask him questions and information. And eventually he started to provide more information and more information. And mind you, this was before I had any interest in cyber or anything like that. But I'm a woman and I know how to Google. So I went on the internet and I started, finding out some things and finding out, where his site was hosted and just all of this stuff. And long story short, I was able to help my dad lock down his accounts and contact Sally Mae and police reports and all of that. And we were triumphant. Never heard from the person again. My dad was able to get his money back. So, okay, why am I telling this story, right? After that experience, I wanted to be able to continue to help people like my father who needed to learn basic cybersecurity or security awareness skills to protect themselves. And I started to volunteer with AARP, which, as you know, is a organization for older adults. And I was starting to teach them how to protect themselves online. That program was called Fraud Fighters, and they're still in existence. So if you're looking for something to do to volunteer, reach out to them. After I started doing that program, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely what I wanted to do. This is enjoyable. That's when I found Blacks in Cyber. And the amount of resources that I was able to lay my hands on at that point really, really drove home for me that this is where I needed to be and that this was what I wanted to do. From there, I reached out to my mentor, got connected with him, I got some mentees, and all of these things pretty much culminated in where I am today. So, all of that to say is you can do so much or gain so much from just a simple act of kindness, right? When you take time to help somebody out, in this case, it was my dad at first, but then it transpired or changed to, you know, other older people, it set me up for all of these great experiences and it's been unending since then, right? I was able to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, with my career. I met some really amazing people in the process, people that I considered to be friends, and my mentees, obviously. So if you have the time to help, to give back, definitely do so. Reach out and help somebody else. So after landing your desired role, what should you be doing, right? Let's talk about this briefly and then I'll wrap it up. Five quick tips for you to do after you land your role. If you finish your CERT program or you're looking for a job or you get that volunteer position or you're in a new job, raise your hand. When you join a new team, definitely make your mark, ask questions. That'll help to level set to help you clarify understanding and demonstrate that you're actively listening, that you're engaged, that you want to learn. Don't be a passive participant in your career. Definitely own it, right? Number two, focus on delivering some value. Yeah, going through the motions of completing your day job between 9 and 5 is great, but how does that really support the larger issues of the organization, right? How are you bringing value to your team? How are you taking work off of your manager's plate? Is there anything else that you can do? Are you showing that you want to be an integral part in your team's success? Determine what those things look like and then embed those things in your behaviors daily so that you can show up and give 100%. Number three, this is a big one, right? Business acumen, right? What is that? You want to understand the big why of your company. Work on your leadership and your soft skills. What does your company do? Why are they doing that? And what is the business goals of your particular department or of that unit, right? Where do you fit it into the larger picture of everything that's happening? If you can't speak to why your company does what they do, why your work supports that business, ask for clarification, right? Have a one-on-one with your manager and say, hey, I need a better understanding of how my role ties into the larger picture. When you have a clear idea of why you're doing what you want to do, it brings context and it connects you to what you're doing and it makes it valuable and gives you a sense of purpose, right? Number four, stay in your lane, right? Focus on yourself, develop yourself. Don't focus on other people's achievements. Like I said before, if you need to disconnect Instagram, do it, right? Your path is yours only. Set your goals, create the plan, that I mentioned before, and follow it. And lastly, right, keep learning new things and definitely strive to be better than you were a year ago. All we can do is be our best, right? And grow from where we were yesterday, 2 months ago, a month ago, a year ago, whatever. Just focus on being your best. Stay the course, and you are going to continue to do awesome and reach your goals, right? I want to thank Vic, obviously, for having me here today. It really is an honor to be able to speak with you all. I do this because I did not really have someone when I was starting out in my career to share these insight with, or someone that can, really sit me down and give me this knowledge. So I feel a great sense of responsibility to pass this information along to you all. And I hope you are able to take something from it. Lastly, I'm on LinkedIn active. I'm on Twitter. If you want to connect with me, or you want to continue this discussion, I'm definitely open to it. Send me a message, send me a DM. If there's any way that I can help you uh, along in where you are, um, feel free to reach out to me. I would love for us to continue to learn from each other, to encourage each other, and to continue to grow in our careers. So please take care. Best of luck and thank you. So I think at that point, I'm going to open up uh, the Q&A here. I think our moderator is still here. Let me stop sharing my screen. And there we go. Let's see. Ah, James Womack is asking, what are some common threats that I faced in my career and how did I mitigate them? That is an amazing question. I think, not to get too deep, but I think being a woman, right, being someone who has come from a non-traditional background, was not a tech person trying to get into tech, I think the biggest threat that I faced has been people taking me seriously. It's very difficult to really, when you're starting out, to really articulate where you want to go and what your career path is. And sometimes people mistake you not knowing in that moment as you not caring. And how I've been able to really deal with that and show and prove, if you will, is by doing things like this, right? Volunteering, having a study group, reaching out to other people, really doing the work, right? So I may not know, okay, where I want to be particular specifically 5 years from now, but I could say, well, this is how I'm trying to figure it out. I volunteer here, I'm reading this book, I'm talking to these people. I have time on my calendar to discuss these things. I think actions in these situations are very important and they bring more value than actually just talking about it. So if someone's not taking you or your path seriously, in this moment, continue to make the moves, right? And to set the goals for yourself, to do the things that will prove to them that you are consistent and you're focused on your career and you're actively trying to get to where you want to go. Okay, let's see. What specific upskilling do you recommend for cybersecurity management level positions? Great question. I think I'll give you a little bit of background. I have worked, like I said, education, finance, healthcare, nonprofits. Uh, I think for any, right, management level position, specifically for those in cybersecurity, one thing that's very important, and I've heard this from hiring managers, is business acumen, right? What does that mean? It's understanding the business needs. Um, in a context where if you were having a conversation as a technical person with, the CEO or with a VP or a manager of sales or someone in marketing or HR, can you speak to the needs of the business aside from cybersecurity? I think a lot of times people in technology tend to be very focused on knowing and being and doing the technical things. But when it comes to adding context to how what they do really aligns with the focus of the business, the KPIs, right? Key performance indicators, the metrics, all of those things, they can't really speak to that. So if that means one of the upskilling things that you need to do is get online and take an intro to business course, just so you're comfortable with, the vernacular of what, the quarters, fiscal years, and P&Ls and all of those things, if taking a course to make yourself more comfortable with that will help you, definitely do it. And then as you go up the org chart and you become a manager, definitely focusing on people management, right? Are you an effective leader? Do you effectively communicate? Are you creating a psychologically safe environment for your staff? True leadership, I believe, right, is your ability to be able to connect with the people that work for you or work around you, and to make a positive impact on their lives and on their careers. So yes, having the technical skills down is awesome. Knowing all the business terms, that's awesome too. But what kind of leader are you? Who do you show up as every day at work, and what kind of impact are you having on people daily and on their careers? How are you helping to develop them? I hope that was helpful. Let's see. What suggestions do I have to better manage time? Wow. So I have ADHD, and time management is a big thing for me. And for a very long time, I struggled with juggling too many balls in the air, and a lot of things fell to the ground, and I was not able to be successful in the way that I wanted to. So I touched on this a little bit before. I keep notebooks everywhere. I have like several notebooks on my desks, as you can see. I have I keep I keep checklists. I have sticky notes. I have a whiteboard. I need to have things in front of my face so that I know that I have things to do, right? If it's with study time, schedule it on your calendar. Put it on your calendar, make it a recurring invitation, and then bring people in, right? I think in isolation, sometimes it's difficult to be able to keep yourself accountable. I definitely struggle with that. So if you know this is a thing that you are having an issue with, schedule that time in during your calendar for studying and stick to it, right? And then if you need to reward yourself for something at the end of completing it, do that. If you need to have an accountability buddy, right? If you need a friend or family member to check in on you to make sure you did that thing, do it. If you need to study with someone else or connect with someone online and work through a lab together or something, do it. Figure out what your thing is going to be to ensure that you stick to the things that you set up for yourself, and do it. And then ultimately, I think too, I had to reframe uh, tasks, right? I used to think of those things as things I needed to do. I now think of those things that I need to do as rewards for myself. The studying may not feel like a reward right now, but a year from now, it's going to be a reward for me. So changing the way I think about things that I need to do and understanding that they're actively going to positively impact me down the line makes it not so arduous. It makes it easier for me to set the 1 hour goal, bust it out, and then cross it off the schedule and feel good about the fact that I gave that time to myself to make me a better person. Favorite study methods. I like to kind of um, layer in studying. So for me, sometimes it's very difficult to read from a textbook. So what I'll do is I will get skim a chapter or whatever, and then I will go to maybe like YouTube or a podcast. And then while I'm doing those things, I'll clean the house or I'll do the laundry or, take the dog out. So I'm actively listening and studying at a time but I'm feeling like I need to move around, and that's very important for me. Um, Layering my learning has been the most effective way for me to retain content. So again, if I have a textbook that I need to read, I'll do a chapter, then I'll get on YouTube and I'll watch some videos, or I'll find a podcast, or I'll have a conversation with someone just to talk about the content. And that definitely helps me to retain information. If I just read it out of a book, it's going to go in and it's going to come out. I need to be able to apply the information that I'm taking in. And then let's see, how do you balance short-term career goals with long-term career planning and development? That is a great question. Um, in the past, I've been guilty of, being the person to create the year-long SMART goals and really getting into the weeds with, being specific and measurable and actionable and all of those things. And then by, March, I've lost sight of everything that I wanted to do. What I found is really working on my the career plan that I mentioned before, and breaking things up into 3 month increments provides me with enough of that initial dopamine hit to keep going after 3 months, right? And then, on the first tab, I actually have, the 3 month increments and everything that's involved. Even within the 3 months, I have it broken down per month. So I know by the end of the month, I need to do A, B, or C. And then at the end of the 3 months, I have, things that I need to succeed in. But on the second tab, I have high level goals, 5 year goals, 10 year goals. This is where I want to be in my career. And I'm able to go between the both tabs to see how what I'm doing on a month to month basis directly aligns and correlates with my overall view of where I want to go. And what you're going to find sometimes is as you work through your month to month and your 3 month increments, you start to change what you want to do in the end, right? Or 5 years from now or by retirement. And that's great. You just go to that second tab and adjust, right? You started out and you wanted to be a pen tester, and then by June you decided you wanted to be a BSO. Okay, go and change what's on that second tab, and adjust your long-term goals when you can definitely see the alignment between your day-to-day actions, right? The studying, the doing the home labs, taking the certification, and how that aligns to your 5 year goals. So 5 years from now, I want, to have my CSSP. Well, I need these three certs first before I get there. And then 10 years from there, I want to be a BSO, right? When you can see how each thing pretty much creates a stable foundation for the next thing, it keeps you locked into your career path. It keeps you locked into your development path and gives you, some people call it a North Star. It gives you the North Star by which you can plan and plot out the rest of your life. So that when you're having those conversations about where you want to go and what you want to be, you could say, well, I kind of know where I want to go, but this is what I'm doing now. And, 5 years from now, I want to do this, and then maybe 10 years from now I'll be here, but we'll see, right? I'm working on it. I think just having those actions and those plans outlined for yourself so you know what you're working on and you know what you're doing gives you the confidence to keep pushing forward. It gives you a strategy by which to create and develop your own career, and it reinforces for you that you're doing all of the right things and that you're making movement. I have a very I have a problem with sometimes feeling like I'm not moving fast enough, right? And it's in those moments when I'm feeling like, the things aren't that I want are coming quick enough. I go back and I look at my list and I'm like, okay, well, this month I did this, and then next month this is coming up. I could start planning for that. So by the end of the year, I should be here. It gives me that direct feedback of, the actions that I'm taking to set myself up. And, it's definitely helpful in getting everything together and making me feel, successful and on target with my goals. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? If not, again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for the ability to be here today. Thank you to Vic, and I hope you all were able to get something out of this presentation. Definitely hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter, and best of luck to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cassandra. We really
Thank
loved
you.
having you here. I
Thank you
thank
so
you a
much.
lot.
Thank
What
you.
really resonated with me was when you said you had to learn how to relearn. I really have an issue with that up to now, but thank you very much. We'd
No
love to see you
problem.
again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.